everyone feeling today? Feeling good? Yeah? But are you really feeling good? Maybe some of you were rushed this morning and feel a little frazzled. Or maybe you're just super excited, like I just heard, and are really pumped up. Or maybe some of you are anxious. Maybe you're super behind on your homework and you have an exam coming up. Yeah. Well, in reality, often we say, I'm good, but that's not actually the case. For me, well, I'm nervous. I'm in front of all of you. My heart's beating fast, my shoulders are a little tense, and I'm feeling a little warm. But I'm going to take a deep breath, and I'm going to remind myself that I did practice and that I'm excited to be here today. My name is Amy Shah, and I am the CEO and co-founder of an organization called Peekapak. It's a technology learning platform where we teach young children that very skill, where I've checked in and helped manage how I'm feeling so I could proceed today with this talk. And we teach a number of skills along with these awesome characters behind me in a world called Peekaville to help them learn and practice things like teamwork, being empathetic, and just being a good person. And I'm going to share today a story about my journey in building this organization and helping bringing these skills to classrooms where I desperately needed to practice these very skills. So my story starts with me bringing to life my lifelong dream. I always wanted to start my own company. I had read every article about founders. I had, watched those documentaries, and I knew it was going to be a hustle. I knew it was going to be hard work, long hours. I thought I was ready and I was prepared. And so when I launched Peekapak, it was pretty exciting. I was over the moon. We had built this product. Children are falling in love with it. We got media attention. We even got accepted to move to Silicon Valley, get investment, and meet with tech founders to learn how we grow and scale our business. How amazing is that? We were in the land of Google and Facebook. But if I look back to those early days, although I experienced these high highs, I was also experiencing some very much low lows. It was actually some of the lowest points in my life, if I had to be honest. And we don't read about that in articles. We always hear about the glamorous aspects of entrepreneurship and starting a company, but often you don't hear about sometimes the struggles. And for me, these struggles were starting to affect my momentum. They were starting to affect my mental health. And I'm not alone. When you look at the research, 50% of North Americans will experience mental illness in their lifetime, so 1 in 2 of you. And if you look at youth, 1 in 5 of you will experience a severe mental disorder. So this is something that we all need to proactively manage. How I was dealing with it, I actually thought if I worked harder, I would make more momentum. That was a recipe for disaster. And if you look at Harvard Business Review, they came out that said, actually, millennials are working harder than previous generations and are giving up their unused vacation days. Does that sound like success? Well, it might be a recipe for disaster, and for me, it was a recipe for disaster. I desperately needed to actually practice the very skills that I was bringing to classrooms around the world, a skill called self-regulation. In our stories, we actually have a hedgehog named Leo the Hedgehog, and he helps young children, draw this awareness, and for him, he practices a poem. I love it. All my feelings are okay. Some may pass, some may stay, and at times I may find it's good to share what's on my mind. Was I practicing this? No, not at all. I needed to learn from Leo the Hedgehog. I needed to learn how to self-regulate. And so it became my goal to self-regulate. So what do I mean to self-regulate or self-regulation? I'll break it down to 2 key areas that I would like you to learn. So first, I wanted to practice self-awareness. So in that check-in, what did I do? I realized I was feeling nervous. So the ability to recognize one's emotions and thoughts and their influence on behavior. If I had let those nervous feelings overcome me, I wouldn't be able to talk here today. The second part of it was self-management. So how do I manage those emotions? How do I be able to be effective in any given situation? So in that check-in, what did I do? I took a deep breath, I reminded myself that I practiced, and I was able to move on. Let me give you another example. I'll tell you how ridiculous I was. So as a founder, I would always, have to travel. I'd have to go to conferences, I had to speak at events, and so my days were long. I would take the earliest flight, 6 a.m. I wanted to make sure I got the most use of my day. Woke up at 4, got on the plane at 6, packed in 8 meetings, didn't take time to eat properly, ate probably a piece of pizza, and continued working until the night, and then did it all over again 5 days in a row. Of course, I probably burned out by Friday, wasn't as effective in my meetings. But if I had taken just a moment to check in, to figure out how was I feeling, I would have realized, I'm actually tired. I'm actually I need a moment to myself. I need to rest earlier, I need to nourish my body, and I'll do better. I'll be more productive. Maybe when I was younger, your age, I was able to get away with that. But what I was realizing is that this was a lot of intensity. I needed to take care of myself more. And so I needed to practice this. So what I did is I had to build a set of tools. So self-regulation, when you think about it, there are various ways to self-regulate, to be able to draw that awareness and to be able to manage your emotions. But there's no one magic tool that works for everyone. You basically have to figure out what are the set of kind of tools that you're going to use and rely on to effectively manage those emotions. And so what I did is I explored 5, and I'll share those with you, but I encourage you to figure out what are the specific tools that work for you. So the first one was journaling. As an elementary age student, I actually journaled all the time. I loved it. Dear Diary, I don't know what I talked about, but looking back at those journals, they were super boring. But I'll say that journaling has proved as an effective strategy moving forward. Journaling was productive in 2 ways. So first, it helped me reflect on a given day, a stressful moment, an exciting piece of news, and it helped me get clarity about my thoughts, my behaviors, and my energy. And as I wrote more and more, I was able to actually see patterns. I was able to see how I was reacting to certain situations or people and better make sense of myself. The second area, I talked about self-management. It ended up being a tool where even if I was either feeling anxiety or if I was feeling, super excited, I got some great news, that was also very distracting. I would be consumed with thought. Instead, now I was pouring all my thoughts on a page, and I was able to make more sense of it, and I felt more clear and able to be productive in my work. And so journaling became a safe space for me to be able to reflect and talk about the things that I needed to talk about and make sense of what I was going through. The second area is meditation. And I'll be honest, looking at a picture like this, and I looked up a number of pictures, this is super intimidating to me. Did I have to go to some rooftop and meditate? Did I need to learn and get courses? Or did I need to do things like this? I don't know. But when you look at the research, meditation is linked to a ton of benefits, including reducing stress, helping you improve your mental health, and be able to get focus and clarity. And so I knew I needed to try it. And so what I did is more like this, an older version of this, and I did 5 to 10 minutes using an app that guided me through the process and kept it simple. I committed myself to 6 months, and it really did 2 things again. It helped me draw that awareness of how I was feeling. So doing body scans helped me understand how my body was feeling in that given moment. And then it also got me to step out and take a breathe and be able to calm myself down. So it helped me manage myself. So instead of an anxious moment taking myself over, I was able to actually calm myself down and feel productive again. And so meditation became a tool that I turned to when I needed it. The third area is moving more. And I'm sure in school and in life, you've read enough articles that exercise is linked to being able to be more healthy, reduce stress, and improve your mental health. So I'm not going to talk about that. Exercise was definitely part of my routine and my practice. But when you're really stressed and you have long days, say, if you think about, school, you're starting early, you're ending early, if you're in extracurriculars, how do you have time sometimes to exercise? Of course, you should make it a priority. But what I found is that sometimes my days started at 6 and they ended at 10 p.m. And so what I needed also to do is have an awareness of how much I was moving. And so I did simple things. I kept track of how many steps I was taking with a fitness tracker or my phone. And I started realizing the days that I was less active, I needed to make changes. So instead of taking the subway to the next stop, I walked to that meeting. Or if I was meeting with a friend for a coffee, it became a walking coffee meeting. And so by doing that, I was able to adjust and be a little more effective in making sure that I had a certain amount of movement to keep me healthy. The next one is eating healthy. And so I say actually eating healthy because I thought I was eating healthy. But really, when I looked at what I was eating on a given day, it wasn't necessarily foods that were fueling my body in a productive way. The research has shown that we, as a generation, have shifted towards more processed and packaged food. Unfortunately, processed food has a lot of calories, it's nutrient poor, and it's linked to mental disorders and depression. And so I know I needed a shift, but I needed to be aware of what I was eating. So I ended up shifting towards more full vegetables and fruits and cooking more of my meals. So an example is I would start my day with a packaged cereal, realizing it had a lot of sugar. I ended up switching to eating oatmeal. And I'm not talking about oatmeal that you have in a package that has sugar, but more so making my own oatmeal. That being said, I didn't want something that didn't taste bad. So I ended up, doing some work and making sure I found out I flavored it with cinnamon and cardamom and ate it with fruit. And so by making that shift, I actually look forward to breakfast. I wanted to eat this breakfast, and I ended up switching a lot of my meals to healthier meal options. The next one and the last one that I practiced was being able to look at authentic relationships. And there's research that shows that when we are more connected to friends and family in our community, we're able to feel better, mentally. We're able to have less stress, and we're physically better. Yet during my most struggles, my challenging times and struggles through my business, I was actually isolating myself and facing them alone. And so I knew I needed to make a shift, but again, I thought, where am I going to find the time? Well, I was making time to practice all these different skills, so I decided that I would practice these different skills with friends and family. I would cook them healthy meals, I would take walks with friends, and as a result, one-on-one, as I built these relationships, I had an opportunity to talk about these highs and lows and have a sense of well-being and belonging, and I felt less alone in my journey. So let's sum up what we learned today. A, I needed to self-regulate. And B, we needed to do that through two ways. So A, I needed to draw self-awareness, which is the practicing the recognizing of emotions and thoughts and their influence on behavior. Tools that I did were journaling, meditation, and that check-in. And two, I also needed to self-manage. So the practice of being able to know, how do I effectively manage those emotions and thoughts in any given situation? And again, tools I looked at were journaling, meditation, a healthy lifestyle, and strong relationships. So let's go back to that first question that I asked in the start. How are you feeling? How are you really feeling? And I know we all, I talked about this and how I bring this to classrooms so young children can learn and practice this check-in. We actually gamified this, and you're able to see how you're feeling in any given moment. But what I'd like you to understand is that this is not just for children. And this is something that we all need to practice. And so I hope that you take from this that we're not just good, that we should stop saying that we're just good, because instead we need to recognize how we're feeling and use those opportunities to manage those emotions and be able to turn to each other to be able to effectively drive our momentum and be productive in our lives. Thank you so much.